G'day everyone. Today we're talking about the Second Commandment. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. In this story, I imagine Jesus arriving in modern New Zealand and applying that commandment to what we actually worship now, not what we say we worship. He catches the overnight train from Wellington to Auckland because the flights are full and because he wants to see the land at ground level again. He sits in an ordinary seat, knees almost touching the backpacker across the aisle, listening to the rhythm of wheels on steel and the quiet despair of people who have learned not to complain out loud. The train is full of small silences. The kind of silence that comes from years of being told your struggle is personal, not structural. At Papakura, he gets off and walks. Dawn is the colour of cold iron. The motorway is lined with billboards that preach their own gospel, shiny SUVs, investment funds promising freedom sooner, a bank ad showing a smiling couple on a boat with the line, "Grow your wealth, secure your future." They look about 35 and already bored with life, which is a strange look to sell as aspiration, but that's the point. The images are not about joy. They're about status and safety, two things that become gods very quickly when people feel afraid. Jesus keeps walking until he reaches a new master-planned community south of Drury. Rows of identical townhouses, double garages, heat pumps the size of small altars. There's a sign at the entrance, "Future-focused living." A smaller sign warns that ball games are prohibited on common areas. The future, apparently, is tidy, monitored, and allergic to children. Inside a show home, a real estate agent in pearls and a navy blazer is explaining negative gearing to a young couple who clearly cannot afford the deposit, but nod anyway because hope is a powerful anesthetic. The agent gestures to a glossy brochure and speaks with the certainty of a priest reciting liturgy. Property has always been the Kiwi dream. Leverage, compound growth, intergenerational wealth. It's practically biblical. Jesus stands quietly at the back, unnoticed. He looks at the price list taped to the wall, $1.18 million for 140 square meters and a courtyard the size of a prayer mat. The couple's face shows a familiar mix of fear and determination, the kind that says, if we don't do this, we're failures, even though the real failure is a system that sells desperation as an aspiration. Jesus walks on. In downtown Auckland, he watches the faithful stream into the temples of their true devotion. Not churches, those are half empty now. The real sanctuaries are glass towers where share traders bow to flickering red and green numbers, where ministers hold press conferences flanked by charts showing lines going up and to the right, where the Reserve Bank governor speaks in solemn tones about inflation expectations, as though inflation is a minor god that must be appeased with ritual sacrifice, usually paid in the jobs and wages of the poor. Jesus has seen this kind of worship before. People say they're rational, they say it's just economics, but they behave like believers. The numbers are treated as sacred. The charts are treated as truth. The suffering is treated as collateral. He visits a marae in Mangere, a place where people have long understood community in a way the market never will. The kaumātua shows him the latest rates demand on their whenua, up 47% in 6 years, while wages rose 19%. Food parcels are rationed. Power bills are chewing the budget. We are being taxed off our own land, the kaumātua says simply. Jesus says nothing. He only looks sad because sometimes naming the pain is more truthful than trying to fix it with slogans. That evening, Jesus walks Queen Street after the shops are closed. The neon is bright, the homelessness darker. A boy no older than 12 is curled in a doorway under a billboard that reads, "Invest in your future today." The boy has his own sign that says, "Hungry, anything helps." No one stops. They hurry to catch trains home to mortgages that owe them more than they own the houses. The irony is almost too neat. The billboard's God is future. The kid's reality is tonight. At 10 o'clock the next morning, Jesus is back in Wellington, this time in the Beehive Theaterette. The Finance Minister is unveiling the latest tax policy work program, a document thick as a telephone book and twice as exciting. Behind him, a giant screen shows a golden calf rendered as a rising line graph. The caption reads, "Strong economic management delivers for all New Zealanders." The minister is beaming. He quotes proverbs about the ant storing up in summer. He doesn't quote the parts about not oppressing the poor, or about honest scales, or about not moving ancient boundary stones. He speaks of aspiration. He speaks of discipline. He speaks as though the only moral problem in the country is that some people haven't worked hard enough. When question time ends, Jesus walks up to the podium. No one tries to stop him. Maybe security has the day off, or maybe they recognize authority when they see it. He places one hand on the lectern and looks at the minister, then at the advisors clutching their tablets like stone idols. "You have made a carved image," he said, voice soft enough that journalists had to lean forward. "You have polished it and set it on high. You call it growth. You call it prosperity. You bow down to it every time you sell a child's future for a surplus today." The minister attempts a laugh the way leaders do when confronted with a moral question they can't quite answer with policy language. "We're a government that believes in aspiration. Everyone can get ahead if they work hard." Jesus turns to the screen. The golden calf still glows. "In the desert, they melted their jewelry to make that thing," he says. "They called it freedom. I broke it to pieces and made them drink the dust. You have melted the birthright of the poor, the sick, the renter, the widow, and you have made a god of compound interest and quarterly returns." He reaches out and touches the screen. The graph flickers, then dissolves into a photograph of a damp flat in Glen Innes. Black mould climbs the walls like ivy. A baby sleeps under 3 blankets because the landlord won't insulate and the government won't make him. "You shall not make for yourself a carved image," Jesus says, "yet you have made many, and you serve them faithfully." And that is the Second Testament. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the third commandment. Thank you. Cheerio.